BJ. This lesson is in Stacker songs. It involves patterning, memorization, and gross motor skills. And it also has so many different spin-off components. You could talk about geography. You could talk about people, sociology. You could talk about so many different options within this one song. Let's get started. So first we'll begin with the globe that's on this table. We'll have the children locate the country of Austria. So we might take a look at the entire picture of the globe, twirl it around, have them try to figure out where Austria is. Once it's in the area of Austria, which is right in this area, we'll start talking about the country of Austria. We might talk about the people there. We might talk about what they eat, how they live, what they sound like, what their language is. And we might even introduce a person from Austria, and it might be this little character here. So this is our character Hans. As you can see, he's wearing lederhosen. He's also wearing his boots because many times it's chilly, especially in the Alps we're talking about. And you can see he's wearing a hat, which keeps his head warm. So there's so many lessons that you can use right here, just using Hans himself. Now in this song, we're just going to use the snow stick in the very beginning of the song. The rest of the time, we'll be using our hands to symbolize the avalanche. The instrument I'm using is called a rain stick, but for this particular song, we're calling it a snow stick. The sound of it sounds like the snow coming down a mountain. It's starting very quietly and increasingly gets louder, just like a snowfall can happen on the mountain. So once I've completed introducing the instruments and the globe and the location and the geography and the character, I would then next introduce the sound effects of the song. So I might begin next with a yodel. And I would have the kids cup their hands, look up to the sky, and say, yodel-hee-hoo. And they would practice. So now that I've introduced the yodel, we're going to create the avalanche. And the sound of the avalanche and the rumble might be. And the kids have a great time doing that because they'll go really, really fast or very, very slow. And you can explain to them tempo at that point. You can explain all sorts of things musically with just that back and forth. So there's an awful lot to do with just the avalanche sound. After the rumble, I might introduce to the children this next piece. It'll be, oh, and the hands go, Austrian went yodeling on a mountain top high, when along came an avalanche interrupting his cry. Now with that, they might not get the claps, they might not get the snaps immediately, but they will try. And the trying is the best part, seeing how it all comes together. So next it would go, oh, dearie, hold the rocket Kia, hold the rocket coo, swish. That would be the first part. The kids will use the yodel as well as the rumbling of the avalanche throughout the story, beginning with each verse. Now that we've introduced the yodel and we've introduced the rumbling of the avalanche, it's now time to introduce the swish. And the swish will use the gross motor skills. It will use the mouth and the tongue together to get the sound effect. And so we're no longer using the snow stick that we had in the beginning. That's left for the very beginning and the very end. So now we're using the swish during the verse. The best part about the swish sound is that they can do it any way they want. There's no wrong way to swish. So the avalanche sound would be swish or swish. But typically the kids like to go real loud and say swish. We'll use that with every verse. And again I would teach them yodel-hee-hoo. Swish, hold the rocket Kia, oh. The next item I'll teach the children would be what falls apart and falls away once the avalanche has occurred. It's going to unearth so many things on this mountainside. The very first thing it's going to unearth would be a grizzly bear. So we're going to actually introduce the grizzly bear to the children. The grizzly bear might sound just like this, grrr, or grrr, or however the child decides he wants to do it. And that will immediately follow the swish. So next the children would learn how to put those two pieces together. It would be swish, grrr. We'd practice that again several times and go swish, grrr. Again, using the gross motor skills, they'll have a wonderful time doing that. So again, you go back to the song as the stacker and say, yodel-hee-hoo, oh, an Austrian went yodeling on a mountain top high, when along came a grizzly bear interrupting his cry. Oh, dearie, hold the rocket-key-o, hold the rocket-coo, swish, grrr. Hold the rocket-key-o, hold the rocket-coo, swish, grrr. Hold the rocket-key-o, hold the rocket-coo, swish, grrr. Hold the rocket-key-o. Next, the kids learn that a St. Bernard has been unearthed on the mountaintop. So we're going to get them to make the sound effect of a St. Bernard who's panting. So we'll end up going, the kids have a great time with that. And again, they can make it their own. So that would be the third component as far as what's found on the mountaintop. So again, we would go, yodel-hee-hoo, oh, an Austrian went yodeling on a mountaintop high, when along came a St. Bernard interrupting his cry. Oh, dearie, hold the rocket-key-o, hold the rocket-coo, swish, grrr. Hold the rocket-key-o, hold the rocket-coo, swish, grrr. Hold the rocket-key-o, hold the rocket-coo, swish, grrr. Hold the rocket-key-o. The next animal that the children unearthed in this avalanche is a Jersey cow that's found on the mountain. So the kids get a chance to milk the cow. So they'll say, squish, squish. Again, they giggle throughout this, and they do it in all sorts of ways, and they look to the neighbor to see if they're doing it the right way. There's no wrong way in the song. So we'll put this together again. Yodel-hee-hoo, oh, an Austrian went yodeling on a mountaintop high, when along came a Jersey cow interrupting his cry. Oh, dearie, hold the rocket-key-o, hold the rocket-coo, swish, grrr. Squish, squish. Hold the rocket-key-o, hold the rocket-coo, swish, grrr. Squish, squish. Hold the rocket-key-o, hold the rocket-coo, swish, grrr. Squish, squish. Hold the rocket-key-o. The last verse I teach the children is the introduction of the beautiful girl that the Austrian uncovers on the mountain as well. So he gives her a kiss. And the kids can go, or they have such a great time doing this, and they giggle throughout. And this is usually when the boys in particular just giggle and blush. So now we're going to introduce that character into the song. Yodel-hee-hoo, oh, an Austrian went yodeling on a mountaintop high, when along came a pretty girl interrupting his cry. Oh, dearie, hold the rocket-key-o, hold the rocket-coo, swish, grrr. Squish, squish. Hold the rocket-key-o, hold the rocket-coo, swish, grrr. Squish, squish. Hold the rocket-key-o, hold the rocket-coo, swish, grrr. Squish, squish. Hold the rocket-key-o, oh, and we end with yodel-hee-hoo. And that's the song. So that is the Stacker song. Stacker songs really work for all ages, in particular young children, because it makes the child become focused. We've talked about lots of things, geography, we've talked about gross motor skills, we've talked about being comfortable in their body, using the hands and the lap, using the yodel sound and putting their voice up to the air. There's so many components to this song. By stacking, there's no room for failure with children. They'll introduce one thing at a time. And much like my attention span, which is very short at times, it will be a great introduction to them that they'll feel comfortable in going to the next phase, because they eventually will master each phase at a time. Till the end of the culmination of the song, they'll have this entire picture of a beautiful song and story. We've introduced geography. By introducing geography, we've talked about the people of the land. We've talked about what they might eat, what they might sound like, what they might look like. We've talked about the different characters that have been unearthed on the mountaintop. We can spin off of many of those, talk about a Jersey cow. We can talk about what it might sound like to be a grizzly bear. We might contemplate what it might feel like to be a St. Bernard on the mountaintop, bringing wonderful supplies to the people on the mountain. It could be one of many, many things that you're using, but you're also getting the child to move, to think, to sing, to process. All of this is part of a Stacker song, one of my favorites to do.